This guy's hopeless!
Anyway, let's explore this new route.
When you think about who could get past security, the only option we know of is Amapal.
True, and that's how we were able to get through security ourselves.
But it's just a toy robot, right? How is it related to the case?
I don't know yet, but since Amapal can get through security, it must be important.
It's sealed off here, too.
Hey, there's an intercom. Maybe someone will respond if you use it.
No way. Huh? Doctor?
Huh? Wait. What the... Wait, who are you? Help! Somebody come help me!
Isn't this the footage of when the doctor was attacked?
Yeah, you're right.
The mystery materialized. Must... So the question is, who did the doctor say, "Who are you?" to? Well, I'll leave it to you.
I don't get how you can keep reading at a time like this.
The trap didn't activate. Does that mean we found the right answer? Huh? So the right answer is no one? Why would the doctor say, "Who are you?" if no one was there?
The security was still active at the time, so no one could enter the doctor's lab, right? And that was before I borrowed Amapal. So the only explanation is that no one was there.
Why would he say that if no one was there?
I think if we go there, we'll find the answer.
What? That route's obviously just a side road. Who cares what the old geezer was thinking anyway?
But it looks like this is the only way we can go. Besides, I am curious about what was going through his mind. It could be an important factor in solving the mystery behind this case.
Still, being forced to take a side route is too much trouble. Makes me wish I was dead.
So, Master, do you have an idea about what the geezer was thinking?
Not yet, but I think it has to do with why he said, "Who are you?" I think the doctor was putting on an act.
An act? Really?
The doctor put on an act for a reason, but I have no idea why. We have to figure that out by going down this doctor's motive route.
He's here too?
You rats keep scurrying around. Do you really think you'll discover Dr. Weska's motive this way? Good luck with that, morons! He had no motive at all!
Well, he said there's nothing here. Let's head back.
We can't do that! If he's trying to block our path, then this route must be important.
Nah, fine.
I'm only here because you maggots piss me off. So, I'm gonna end you here and now! This was all part of the doctor's plan? He didn't have a plan at all. That exchange on the intercom wasn't an act.
Say,
That's right.
This was all part of the doctor's plan? He didn't have a plan at all. That exchange on the intercom wasn't an act. There was no reason to put on a show. The doctor misunderstood. You probably don't know this. Weska put his soul into his work. The research was going well. The doctor was loyal to Amaterasu.
I knew it.
but
No.
This was all a part of the doctor's plan? He didn't have a plan at all. That exchange on the intercom wasn't an act. There was no reason to put on a show. The doctor misunderstood. You probably don't know this. Weska put his soul into his work. The research was going well. The doctor was loyal to Amaterasu.
I knew it.
but
No.
This was all part of the doctor's plan? He didn't have a plan at all. That exchange on the intercom wasn't an act.
there was no reason to put on a show. The doctor misunderstood.
Stood. You probably don't know this. Weska put his soul into his work. The research was going well. The doctor was loyal to Amaterasu.
This is the truth. No. The doctor was planning on betraying Amaterasu Corporation. He was trying to escape Kanai Ward. He said so in the messages he wrote.
You little...
Yomi's rebuttal? What was that? What was he trying to deny? Why was he covering up the doctor's motives?
It seems that this case involves the inner workings of Amaterasu.
Right. The doctor was going to betray Amaterasu, and whoever he was emailing knew that. So the doctor locked himself in the lab to protect himself from that person.
Perhaps the doctor's act had something to do with that. It's the security gate.
Which means this is a complex problem. We have to choose the right door and insert the correct solution key.
This is way more hassle than before. Guess I'll leave it to you, Yuma.
As always.
The door actually opened. I knew I could let Yuma handle it.
Are you sure you aren't a phantom?
So the doctor tried to swap places with someone else to escape from Amaterasu. The notes he left behind in the lab hinted at his plan.
You mean the diagram with the sulfuric acid being poured on someone?
Yeah, he was going to swap places with a corpse, then melt it with acid. He wanted to disfigure it beyond recognition. That's how he planned to fake his own death.
At the very least, it'd buy him enough time to escape Kanai Ward. Or so he thought.
Wow! Melting a corpse with sulfuric acid? Yay! So cool and grotesque! So who is the substitute supposed to be?
Maybe the hitman. The doctor was under surveillance by Amaterasu, but he was still looking for a chance to escape. When he learned a hitman was after him, he figured his chance had arrived. The doctor was hoping to use the security system to kill the hitman and use the body as a decoy.
Now that I think about it, the doctor did seem to be waiting for the hitman to arrive.
The hitman hasn't arrived yet. When will he show up? Don't tell me this so-called first-rate hitman was captured by peacekeepers.
But the hitman never did show up. That's why the doctor had a sudden change of plans.
And that was the act he put on by asking, "Who are you?"
Perhaps that was a trap to lure you in, Yuma.
He was trying to lure Master?
He considered taking advantage of the detectives, since the hitman never showed up. So if he called for help, he would charge into the lab, not knowing anything about the security system, and thereby acquire the corpse he needed as his decoy.
That seems overly complicated. Like those guys who overthink asking girls out.
Well, he couldn't have used another researcher. Someone would have noticed their absence. He needed visitors, people from outside to pull it off.
So if I didn't know about the security and had rushed into the lab...
You'd be a super sexy skeleton right now. Aw, so close.
You want that?
But the doctor's plan failed, and he actually got boom killed by the hitman. I get what he was trying to do, but what about the impossible murder?
Assuming the attack on the doctor was just an act when we saw him through the intercom, we at least know for sure the real attack hadn't happened yet.
In other words, the culprit entered the lab after that exchange. So the problem is, when did they actually enter?
Where are we?
This place is a real mystery. Then again, I suppose that checks out.
Huh? Shinigami?
Yeah! Master, this looks like an important turning point! So, is that your final answer?
I haven't said anything yet!
Master, you need to narrow down the timing for when the culprit got inside. Now then, here's our fateful fork in the road. It's life or death! We're at the crossroads of mystery and solution. This earth-shattering choice may be your last. Now, Master, which one will you choose?
When I directed Amapal to go into the doctor's lab, he already had a knife stuck in him. Which means he was murdered before Amapal entered the doctor's lab.
Your answer? Is correct! Congratulations, Master! Would you like to double down?
What are you talking about? Anyway, let's keep going.
Little by little, we're narrowing down when the culprit entered.
Yeah, but we still don't know how yet. It had to be between when we spoke to the doctor over the intercom and when Amapel entered his lab. During that time, the culprit entered the doctor's lab and murdered him.
So the most likely time would be when you went to borrow Amapel, Master. The culprit had to have entered the lab then.
But Fubuki waited at the front chamber while Desuhiko and I went to borrow Amapel. She said no one entered or left the lab. Huh? We're back on the original path.
Maybe you're supposed to try opening that door now.
I'm sure that from here on out, it's not just about when, but also how the culprit got in. Yuma, there's no need to push yourself if things get too hard.
No, I can do it. I'm going to solve it.
This is a map of the critical lab.
So we have to determine where the culprit was before the murder.
We'll have to solve them one at a time. Let's start with this mystery.
If we know where the culprit was before they got in, this route will be clear too. Do you know where, Yuma?
Here. The culprit must have been
It opened!
After the exchange on the intercom, given there was always a detective at the front chamber, when we went to borrow Amapel, the culprit had to have already made their way inside. But the airlock is the only location that isn't affected by the security system. There, the culprit had to be inside that decontamination device before committing the crime.
But I thought he was just hiding in there to avoid being spotted after the crime. So you think the culprit was in there before the crime too?
Yeah, the culprit was waiting for their chance. But we had no idea when we sent Amapel into the airlock.
And from there, Yuma, you guided Amapel to the doctor's lab.